let's look at Kamala Harris being pressed by Katie Couric on what we have been very clear is perhaps the biggest problem with the United States involvement in this conflict in terms of the philosophy, the kind of underlying philosophy that the U.S. is bringing to the conflict. Let's roll this clip.
We've been very clear, humanitarian aid must flow. From day one, I will tell you, one of my areas of priority included, let's think about the day after, because we must stay focused on an eventual two-state solution.
Well, having said that, I want to tell you something which I'm sure you're well aware of, that Bibi Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, recently said. He rejected U.S. calls to scale back Israel's military action in the Gaza Strip or to support a Palestinian state after the war. He even said that Israel, quote, must have security control over the entire territory west of the Jordan River, which includes Gaza. So given those positions, how can you possibly come together? How can the U.S. and Israel come together to solve this? And should aid to Israel be conditional?
So I'll start with the principles that we are applying to this discussion, which we've been very clear with the Israeli government about. One, as it relates to the day after, there should be no reoccupation of Gaza. There should be no changing of the territorial boundaries of Gaza. That the Palestinians are entitled to, in equal measure with Israelis, security and prosperity.
Doesn't sound like Bibi Netanyahu agrees with that.
We're the United States of America. I'm telling you our position. And we take our role in this discussion very seriously. There may be disagreements. That doesn't mean we're going to change our mind.
So should aid, Madam Vice President, be conditional? If the Prime Minister of Israel is stating this, should that aid not come if there's not that kind of flexibility that you're seeking?
We are right now in a position of negotiating with Congress to follow through on a commitment we made for aid. And we are taking it one day at a time in terms of what is happening in the region and how we are addressing the issue. But that's where we are right now.
So I don't feel like you really answered my question.
I think I did.
Well, but do you think it should be conditional? I know you're carrying out.
That's not our position right now.
Not right now.
It's like that confession was extracted through torture.
Yeah.
Practically. Just say it.
You know, Kamala Harris is mad when she's laughing.
It was impressive, though, the way that Katie Couric there just doesn't move on and just insists on getting an actual answer out of her.
Yeah.
That was, I thought that was impressively done. And, you know, especially after Kamala Harris said, well, I think I've answered your question. Mm-hmm. It's like, did you?
No,
because I'm not quite sure.
Katie Couric committing random acts of journalism.
Not quite sure that I heard an answer there. But the substance of it is also so important. There could not be a bigger gap between the two positions of Netanyahu's, which is, you know, Israel ought to have security control over everything from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, and the American position that Israel should not, and that there should be a path toward a two-state solution.
Right.
Like that. That's now Netanyahu's is actually much more grounded in the reality of the fact that there are 750,000 Israeli settlers in the West Bank, and that Israel is pursuing control not just of the Erez crossing, but also of the Rafah crossing with Egypt. Like they are gunning. They are trying to make that reality the kind of final reality on the ground. Yeah. Like their vision is much closer to happening than our vision. So in that sense, his posture is in the lead. But for years we've kind of had to pretend that that's not really what he thinks, and that there's actually a major constituency in Israel for a two-state solution, if we just continue to say that there is.
Yeah, and if you zoom out to 30,000 feet and try to explain the United States' support for this war to people in another time or another era, they would say, well, so you are aiding Israel and their goals for Gaza, their goals for the territory. I mean, that's the most common sense conclusion.
Yeah.
It's the most common sense conclusion from a nation giving another nation billions of dollars to prosecute a war. But in fact, we're on vastly different pages about why the war is being fought.
Or we say we are.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think though that Joe Biden's been a two-state solution guy for decades. He's Mr. Two-State Solution. He walks around like Mr. Two-State Solution, and it's just a incredibly. I think it's very frightening. We've talked about this a lot, but it's just the fact that this isn't the conversation the media is pushing every single day, and it took Katie Couric like 3 months to get Kamala Harris to confront that central tension is pathetic.
Right, and the key thing is, okay, what we say doesn't mean much. What we do is what matters. There was some leaked report in NBC News that Biden is now considering, withholding some weapons in order to put pressure on Israel, which flies in the face of all these people you see saying, well, Biden can't do that. No, of course Biden can do that.
But to do what and why? I mean, it's just that's the question that Biden and Kamala Harris absolutely can't answer. For Israel to defend itself? Okay, so to what, again, to what ends? Does that mean that Israel controls the entire area? Or what are your conditions actually aimed at achieving?
Right. The way that people think about it here in the U.S. is that unconditional support for Israel empowers the right wing because it allows the right wing to say, look, we don't have to compromise at all with the Palestinians. We can do the maximalist version of what we want, and the U.S. will be behind us the entire time. And that undercuts the Yesh Atid party, Benny Gantz, people who in the past have, not today, but in the past have spoken favorably about a two-state solution. They don't even talk about it anymore. But if the United States came around and said, look, this is the deal. Like, we're cutting off aid tomorrow unless you move forward on an irrevocable path on a two-state solution, and you cut a deal with Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, everybody else, and you just have to do this. That then empowers the political position inside Israel that says, look, we don't have a choice. We have to do this. That moves voters, it moves politicians. That's the theory. The theory so far has been held up by reality because our unconditional support for Israel has only moved the Israeli kind of political spectrum, inexorably to the right over the last 30 years.
It's more logically consistent to be a one-stater at this point, like Netanyahu, than to be whatever the hell Kamala Harris
or like a
and Joe
Rashida Tlaib,
Biden
who's
are.
like, look, it's not going to happen. Let's just give everyone equal rights and citizenship within the exact same area that Netanyahu just outlined.
It's a clear and consistent and like sort of internally coherent end goal. And that is not what we're getting from this administration whatsoever. We don't have any clear benchmark of what it means to eradicate Hamas and no clear benchmark of what would happen after eradicating Hamas. And yet we're pouring so much money into this conflict that is spilling so much blood. Again, just a scary place to be.
Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.
Help us build independent news and get the full show every morning at breakingpoints.com.